Do you need $1,000,000 saved up in order to retire? If not, how much do you need and how do you find that out? I've got all that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Do you think you need $1,000,000 saved up in order to retire? I know that's a psychological threshold many people are aspiring to achieve, and I get it, even though I would tell you, that your financial life is unique and individual to you, and be careful. Be careful about comparing yourself financially to others. It's unknowable. It's impossible to know all the underlying differences that they have, that you have, and therefore hard to compare yourself to others. But still, comparing to some sort of benchmark or milestone like having $1,000,000 saved up, I get it. It's natural. So here's the question: do you need $1,000,000 saved up in order to retire? No, you don't. In fact, most do not. I've said this many times before. It's from personal experience and being a CFP, serving lots of folks. I've seen people successfully retire with a couple $100,000 saved up. I've seen people not be able to retire or have to make some significant sacrifices with a couple $1,000,000 saved up. So no, you can have a successful retirement whether you've got $1,000,000 saved up or not. Currently, only about 10% of retirees were able to reach that $1,000,000 milestone. Most of them, 90% of them, retired without having $1,000,000 saved up. Gen X, the generation that's nearing retirement, not quite there, believes they're going to need about 1.1 million saved up, but they actually are on pace to have around 600,000 saved up. So there is a disconnect. So no, you don't need $1,000,000 saved up in order to retire. Some of you need actually quite a bit more than that, but others of you can have a fantastic retirement on much, much less. So then how much do you need? How do you figure that out? Well, I've shared it before. I'm going to continue to share it because it is an approach that you need to take, that everyone needs to take in order to find their number. There is not just a number, one size fits all for everyone. Therefore, I'm assuming even from the title, you knew the answer was going to be no, you don't need $1,000,000. But again, some of you need significantly more. Some of you, need a lot less. So how do you know? And this is the other thing. I've talked about this before. There used to be some commercials from an insurance company that I don't think is even around anymore. They've been swallowed up by others. But where you see people walking around the streets and walking around a park carrying a number. Well, guys, that number can change as well. So while your number, how much you need to have saved up, is very unique to you, it's also unique to your variables. And those variables vary. They change. What's the process? How do you calculate it? We call it the 5-factor retirement plan. And while we came up with that, these are truths. These are the 5 factors that influence your ability to retire, and it helps you derive. It's where you figure out how much do you need to have saved up. It's based on, first factor is your age. What age do you want to retire? And what's your life expectancy? So this is a crude calculation of how long will retirement last. Obviously, for obvious reasons, that's going to influence how much you need to have saved up. If your retirement's going to last a long time, you need a lot more saved up. If it's going to be short, then you need less saved up, right? So what age do you want to retire? And then what's your life expectancy? Second variable is, what are your spending habits? How much do you think you'll spend in retirement? And there's several ways that you can calculate this. This trips a lot of people up. One of the easiest ways is to look at your net take-home income right now. So ignore your 401k, ignore tax withholdings, ignore health insurance, and just look at what is your net take-home right now. And then ask yourself, well, what of your expenses out of that net take-home, what will still be there in retirement, or what will not be there in retirement, or what new expenses will be brought up? So normally it's what's your net living expenses right now? Let's assume that you live on that out there in retirement. But if you're going to have a mortgage paid off, or if you're currently helping kids with school, or saving up for a Roth IRA or something like that, then you can reduce those things out of there. But then once you've got that net number, you then add in taxes, add in health insurance costs, add in maybe vacations or any one-time expenses that you expect, big lump sum expenses throughout each year. And then you add an inflationary component to that as well. Many financial factors, or if you're just doing the math yourself, overlook the impact of inflation, especially over years and years and decades. And I'm not just bringing that up right now with inflation being high. We've needed to add an inflationary component to our retirement projections. In fact, for 20 years, we've used the same inflationary component. Even though inflation was well below that number for a long time, and even though just for a couple years, inflation's been trending higher than that number, we've kept that consistent. So that's spending. If you were to ask me, of the 5 factors, is there one that's most important? In my opinion, it's spending. That's where I've seen people be able to retire really successfully with just a couple $100,000 saved up, and seen people not be able to retire when they've got a couple million simply because of how much they plan on spending. Third factor of retirement, third variable, is what income sources will you have in retirement. Social Security, yes, and so this is where you optimize whether you're going to draw right away, delay Social Security, maybe all the way to 70. If you're married, what's that strategy? Then whether you have a pension, whether you'll have any other side income or retirement income, rental income, business income, anything like that. So those are your income sources. You're going to apply a cost of living adjustment there or not, right? And so that's the third factor. Fourth factor is where we start talking about investments. And this is, how much do you currently have saved up for retirement? And then how much are you currently saving? So this is what percentage of your income is going to the 401k? Are you maxing a Roth? Is your spouse doing something? All of that is baked into that fourth factor. And then the fifth is, how much risk are you comfortable taking with your investments? Because to determine what number you need or what retirement's going to look like, you have to have some sort of assumption on, well, how will your investments perform? And we absolutely don't know what the market's going to do, the stock market's going to do, just like we don't know exactly how long you'll live, that life expectancy in that first factor. We don't know what the market's going to do for us, but we do know historically what it's done based on different risk profiles. So what's your risk profile? What are you comfortable with in retirement? And therefore that helps us project, how much do you currently have saved up? How much are you saving? And then how much growth might there be between now or whenever you're looking at this analysis and retirement and throughout retirement? Those factors, when woven together, they're interrelated. So when woven together and analyzed using hopefully software, some technology that can do statistical regression and do Monte Carlo analysis and all other sorts of fancy things, you're able to derive, well, when I bake all those 5 factors together, what's my confidence rate? Am I on track to retire? And then that will show you the range of numbers, or approximately the number that you're trying to get to in retirement by the time you retire, in order for everything to work appropriately. Now, I wouldn't tell you, just like I said earlier, I wouldn't just say, well, once you know that number, that's your number. And if the original plan, that original 5 factors were you were going to retire at 62 and spend $6,000 a month, and you would just have Social Security, you draw it right away, and blah, 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 and all that calculation led to you need 1.2 million saved up. Well, if you reach 1.2 million saved up by 55, can you retire? No, that just changed the equation. That just changed the age, right? And so now the calculation needs to be redone or updated. Said differently, well, if you were planning on spending $6,000 a month, but now all of a sudden inflation has occurred, and now you're looking at your budget and we're spending $7,000 a month. That might influence, well, do you need 1.2 saved up, or do you need 1.5 or whatever? And so staying in tune, honestly, staying in touch with those factors, those variables, is critically important. Not just in knowing what number, what are you shooting for, but also, are you on track? And what changes have happened recently that maybe need to be incorporated in this plan to determine, are you still on track, and what number are you shooting for? Might sound complicated. It's not rocket science. However, it is difficult, and it takes a little bit of work and intentionality. That's why I am not a fan of online calculators or just a rule of thumb when it comes to retirement. This is way too big of a decision for you to base on rule of thumbs or online calculators that are not thorough enough or individualized to your specific situation. You need to work with your CFP doing that 5-factor retirement plan, and then on an ongoing basis update, has anything changed? Are you still on track? Are these variables different? And so on. And if you find yourself not on track, you either need to determine, well, let's wait and let's see if we get back on track, or what adjustments or trade-offs can we make to get on track. Work with your CFP on that. And if you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.